The Four Doors is a cooperative game by Matt Leacock and others, and this game makes me think of Pandemic, the card game with a fantasy theme, which I'm not saying is a negative at all, because I love Pandemic, I love card games, and guess what? I love fantasy themes also, so it seems pretty awesome. You're gonna use cards in this game to build a tower with these four sections here. They go in a random order. On top of it, you have a beacon, and at the bottom, you have a doom track. Then you're gonna use cards to activate different kinds of actions, and you also have different characters here. And if you play multiplayer, you will play with any one of them. You can also play, two-handed solo. You use any two characters and you control those. Or you can also play true solo, in which you do use a single character. But if you play true solo, first, some characters have special abilities that only activate in the solo variant, and they can be very nice. Second, you have access to all of the characters with all of their unique abilities. So in multiplayer, you will always have the ability of that character or the character or that character. Here, for an action, I can switch from one character to the next, and doing that at the right time can be extremely important. So it's a nice little trade-off there. Here you have the Doom track, and you are supposed to use one of the unused pawns here to keep track of your level of Doom. We'll see what that means. Since in True Solo you're going to use all of the pawns, I recommend adding your own pawn, and so I added this one, but I just want to point out this doesn't come with the standard game. It's my own thing. So our heroes are defending the tower from the forces of darkness, these ghosts here. At the beginning of the game, after you create the tower, you draw 9 cards on this deck. These cards will represent resources that you can use, a main resource in the middle, and that may be a resource, but also an action. A lantern here in the top left corner, and a type of ghosts indicated here. So you draw 9 cards, and you simply turn them by 90 degrees, and you place them in the corresponding section of the tower. In the color, the corresponding color, and also simply the orientation will tell you whether the card goes on the right or left side of the tower. You don't want too many of these around there, because there can never be more than 3 ghosts on each side of each section of the tower. So if, for example, right now I drew one of these cards and I would need to add it there, well, I can't. So instead of doing that, you have what I think of as an outbreak. The card is discarded that you should have placed, but you couldn't, here under the Doom track in an area called the Hollow. It's like a discard pile, but cards don't come out of there on their own. They stay there. When you reshuffle the discard pile to make a new draw deck, you don't include those. You need to use game effects to get cards out of those, and even that, not a lot. Not a lot of effects, so that kind are available. That means when game effects place cards into that area, your deck will shrink, and that can be a problem, because every time you need to reshuffle your discard pile to remake your draw pile, the Doom track goes up by 1. And when it reaches the last space there, you lose the game. Also, when you were trying to add a 4th ghost, but you couldn't because there were too many ghosts, so when you had an outbreak there, the door of this section of the tower where that happened goes from open to half open, or half closed, depends really on how you say it, ajar, let's say. And if that happens again and the door is already ajar, then that section of the tower is destroyed. All of the cards involved go into the Hollow, not good. And there's also another big problem here. In order to win the game, you will need to find 4 artifacts represented by these cards. Each is associated with a specific section of the tower, green with green, red with red. And when you find them, you flip them to this side, and they're so shiny. I know, it's like mesmerizing. And each also will give you a special ability that you can use. However, if a section of the tower is destroyed before you found the relic associated with it, you can't possibly win the game, and so you lose the game. That's one way of losing it, because you need to find all 4 to win the game. So you lose the game if they destroy a section before you find the corresponding relic. You lose the game if the Dune track goes too high, and you also lose the game if you don't have the resources to complete the game, which happened to me once, by which I mean, in order to win the game, finally time to talk about the good stuff, you need to find the 4 relics before it's too late, before the doom is too high, and you need to bring all of your heroes to the top of the tower, and you need to cast a special type of spell that will allow you to lit the beacon. Ooh. And it happened to me once that all of the cards that could possibly do that effect were in the hollow, and so tough. That's how I lost. Now, more specifically, you shuffle the deck, you will have your hand of cards, and during your turn, you will take up to 3 actions. Players will alternate taking turns that way. First, you will, again, you take 3 actions. One action is to illuminate, then that means you discard a card with the lantern icon matching the section in which you are, green, for example. And by doing so, now you can discard one of the ghosts in that section of the tower. I'm doing so. So you see, illuminating is super important because it allows you to both prevent the outbreaks and remove cards from here and put them in your discard pile, from where maybe there will be characters that will allow you to draw them from there. Love the Summoner because she does precisely that. Because ultimately you need those cards to find those relics. In order to find a relic, you need to have in your hand 4 matching cards. And then for an action, I can discard these cards and find the corresponding relic. So you got an action to illuminate, an action to find a relic, and then other things that probably you imagine. One is like you'll need to move, so for an action you can move to an adjacent section. For an action you can search, which is draw cards from the draw pile. And from an action, if you're playing multiplayer, you can give a card, which is give a card from your hand to a character in your section. But again, I played solo, and then we don't have that. If you play solo for an action, you can switch your active character with another one, gaining access to the unique ability of the character that you're just now playing as. This is what happens after you take your 3 actions. You draw 2 cards. I just say, actually, as you can see, some cards also have special abilities, special spells, and you simply do what it says, and playing one of these spells, kind of like special actions in Pandemic, doesn't count as an action. So on top of that, you can play as many spells as you have in hand and as you think it's a good idea. After that, Shadows Fall. You draw a number of cards from the draw pile, one at a time, based on the doom level that you're at. 2, 3, 4, and good luck, 5. And you add them to the tower. That means, of course, that the deck is getting thinned out faster. That means that outbreaks are more likely to happen, and it's bad. It's a snowballing effect. And I've seen that happen. It starts pretty easy and pretty relaxed, and then it's an avalanche of bad stuff happening. This is the idea. You have a hand limit of 5 cards, which is really tough because you need 4 of the same kind in your hand in order to find the relic. But that's the general idea. You take turns playing your actions, trying to do all the things to kick the ghosts away and find the relics. You get new cards, the enemies get new cards, and you continue like this until your party either wins the game or your party loses the game. This game is really nice. It reminds me a lot of Pandemic, which again I'm saying as a positive, and it really does so in a way that yet feels different enough that doesn't feel redundant. In terms of complexity and length of gameplay, it reminded me of Pandemic Hot Zone, but it's even easier to set up and faster to set up. Put the cards out and you're ready to go. Travel's also better than that game, so it's a neat like travel game. If you're just bringing your deck of cards and a couple of pawns, that's you don't even have to bring this box, which is already small already. So I think of this as a travel version, smaller version, quick version of Pandemic Hot Zone, but I also really enjoy the fantasy theme and the art. The production is great. Those shiny cards, I may be a sucker for things like that, for literally flashy stuff, but what can I say, I like them. But again, gameplay, also the tweaks and the touches that are there, that differentiates this game from Pandemic or the smaller Hot Zone version, they're really important. I really enjoyed the challenge, the little puzzle of switching from one character to the other. Oh, I'm gonna use a character that puts a lot of cards from the tower into the discard pile. Now the discard pile has the cards that I want. Then I call the summoner to take them out. Ooh, now I need to run to that location there, so I switch to the character who moves faster, and so on and so forth. It adds a whole other layer of decision there, of meaningful decisions that makes the game fun and exciting. Gameplay, as I said earlier, starts easy, maybe even relaxed, and then it has its own quality of snowballing real bad, which of course makes the later parts of the game more exciting, and that's precisely how it should be. A game should have a climatic structure. As you play the game for a couple of turns, the more you play, the more tired you become, the more fatigued you become. The game should become more exciting so it can keep drawing you in at the same level or even more, and this game does that very effectively. Using the special actions is also very nice, but you gotta time them. So you got the hand management, but also the tower management, and even the discard pile management. The fact that the Doom track is moved by the discard pile, that also causes you to worry in a different ways than from other games, and again try to do the best with what you have, to discard, to reshuffle as little as possible, but it will happen, so it's a matter of timing. And yes, so for example, certain characters won't be quite as important right after you reshuffle because you don't have a discard pile. So again, cycling through the characters, especially as you play solo, is very nice. It's its own mini game. So you got board management, hand management, super important, super challenging. Darn, I need those 4 cards. I will need to discard something to have that combo. And even discard pile management. It all comes together in a design that plays very well, looks good, and is captivating. So I definitely had a good time playing The Four Doors. This is a game that I recommend to anybody looking for a cooperative or solo game that is simple to learn, to set up and put away, to play, and is also a lot of fun.